Welcome to Homecoming with the Downer Brothers. This is Anthony.
And this is Anton.
And we have somebody special today, someone we know and we work with personally for years.
Ooh.
That's right. That's Mikia Dameron.
What does she do?
She is our property manager.
Oh, yeah. That means I don't have to collect my own rent.
That means I don't have to listen to tenants complain about stuff that isn't really complainable.
Oh, okay.
Complainable. He came up with his own definition. That's not the definition today, y'all.
No, it's
that's
not.
not the definition. Complainable is not.
Add it.
All right, so we're on Homecoming with the Downer Brothers, and the way we kick this off is that we ask you a question, and that question is, where are you from? And when you were growing up,
Yes.
what did you learn about real estate business or financial literacy?
Okay, so I am from Chicago, South Side. Grew up in the Kenwood neighborhood, 4577 Lake Park.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't learn about real estate until I was about 19. And how that happened is my mom was buying a house for the first time, and she had a real estate agent who was not listening to her needs. And so she was taking us to houses. We were not liking them at all. So I took it upon myself to do my own search, and I found the home that my mom is still living in today.
Okay. Wow.
And so that opened up my eyes to get into real estate on my own. And I started as a leasing agent with Chicago Apartment Finders, branched off into property management. And here I am, 10, 11, 12 years later as a owner of my own property management company.
And what's the name of your company?
New Heights Property Management.
All right, New Heights. That's right.
That's
New
who's
Heights.
signing the check.
That's right. All right, cool. So, why is it important to have a property manager? I mean, why would the Downer Brothers have a property manager?
The Downing brothers had a property manager because they're so busy. But no, it's important to have a property manager. It's all about your own personal preference, though.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have that investor relationship and then continue to grow and build your portfolio, of course, as you're doing that, you need someone to handle the day-to-day operations. And so that is what a property manager does to make sure that you're getting paid, your building is maintained, and that any tenant relations are being taken care of so that you have that consistent residual tenant that rolls over from year to year to year.
Oh, I think you hit it on the head. Because that's the thing. Like, we are busy. I mean, I think we throw that word around, busy. But I mean, we're filming a podcast. We're doing renovations. We're having meetings with public officials and investors and
Having commercials,
Yeah.
giving away houses.
Filming TV shows and whatnot.
Right. So
Yeah.
we got a lot of stuff going on, and there are people out there that are like, they want to manage their own building because they have like a three flat or a 4-unit apartment, and they want to do it themselves. But then there's some people who get discouraged and they end up out of real estate altogether, saying, "Oh, this is too much of a headache, and my tenants were terrible."
Yeah.
But I kind of feel whenever I hear people say that, I always ask them, "Did you ever consider getting a property manager?"
Yeah.
Because maybe an experienced property manager such as yourself could have alleviated some of those problems, and they could have kept that property and still had a cash flowing property.
Absolutely. I think sometimes when owners want to manage their own properties, it's just there's not really a set of proper protocol and procedures that are in place, meaning they can sometimes get too personal with their tenants, and then some tenants can take advantage of that. So, for instance, you're my landlord and we have this one-on-one. So now I'm going to tell you I can't pay my rent on time this month because my grandma stubbed her toe and I got to pay for all her hospital bills because the insurance. And so you, being an empathetic person, is like, oh man. And so you go with that. And so then you keep that going. Or if you have multiple tenants that's giving you that same line, you're not making any money. And you don't get it until after your mortgage is due or after you got to pay for a heater or water tank or whatever the case may be.
And then you provide free housing at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you're getting your money after the fact, but it also kind of puts you at a deficit because you may not have planned to pay for the mortgage that month.
Right. So, I mean, it's all circumstantial, but if you are listening right now and you're either considering buying your first multi-unit property, or you already have one and you're up to here with it and you're like, oh, I'm ready to quit.
Yeah.
Before you do that, do a little research and think about hiring a property manager. I mean, you don't have to say I'm either doing it myself or I'm quitting. There is a third option.
Yeah, and and then it's the thought that having a property manager is expensive, and that's not the case either. It's really just a percentage on the dollar that you have a property manager for. Now, granted, the maintenance and the upkeep, depending on how well your property is, will fluctuate. But as far as actually having a person to handle your day to day, that's just a percentage on the dollar.
Right. Yeah, and we could talk about this as though everything's so great because we don't have to do any work. But yes, major infrastructure does play a part. For me, this past year, I had to spend like $12,000 on a boiler for one of our apartment buildings.
Yeah.
And that set me back. So we should alert people. When you get that money, do not go to the Bahamas with it. Do not go to the casino. At least until you put away like 10% of it every month for that eventuality that's going to come, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then too, it's all about knowing beforehand, like with us having to get the boiler, it wasn't something like we didn't plan for it. So it was kind of where you had property management team on site and we were able to monitor it, and then we planned for it months in advance. So it wasn't like, we're last week and it died on us, and it was kind of like something where you had to pay right away without knowing that expense was coming up. So
right. I mean, it's planning and preparation, and I think some people get emotional about properties, right? Especially when they're buying like a single family home.
Yeah.
People get really emotional about buying it.
Yeah.
And selling it. And sometimes because of emotions, they buy a property because it's the first one they saw and they fell in love with that. And they never even saw the rest of their options. Yeah. Or when it's time to sell, they want to sell it at a certain price because in their own personal opinion, it's valued at certain. And the same thing with when it comes to like owning a multi-unit. It's a business. Yeah. So when you start getting emotional because of relationships with the tenants and things of that nature, you get away from the point. And the point of having a multi-unit property, whether it's residential 3-flat or if it's a commercial building 6-flat, 10-unit, 20 units, it at the end of the day, it was to make money. You got this for a reason, to make money. So let's keep it business.
Yeah, I really feel that's exactly the reason why we got you to be our property manager, because we were starting to get personal relationships with our tenants.
I had to break that with you.
Yeah, right. And it was hard at first. And what I'm happy about now is like with one of our buildings, I don't know any of those tenants.
Yeah.
And I imagine that makes your job easier.
It does.
Yeah. Now, before we go on, even though we don't know the tenants per se, we do care about their well-being.
Yeah.
And so I think, okay, this is a point I want to make right here. We don't ever want to be slumlords. And I think when you have property management, that means you can maintain the building to a level so that people can be proud of where they live and that your tenants are comfortable and they have their needs, their basic needs, which means that they have their sanitation, their toilets are working, the ceiling isn't leaking, that it's no obstruction going from the front door to the sidewalk. Snow is removed. We want to. Property management allows us to make sure that those things are happening.
And that's the thing is like you have to also vet your property managers, because you may not be a slumlord, but your property manager may be a slum manager.
Right. So, that's a point.
And that can be something that discourages people from having property managers as well, because they may think nobody's going to take care of my building the way I would. But it's about vetting them and also kind of checking their references, checking the properties that they're saying that they manage, just driving through the neighborhood. How does their, the landscaping look compared to everybody in the neighborhood? That's a way to kind of vet to see how well maintained your property is and how they would treat your property, because your property manager wants to treat your property as if it's their own. And so if that's the case, then they can kind of also be your accountability partner to make sure that you're not a slumlord, so to speak.
Right. Now, like when we met you, I feel like you only had a couple of buildings, right?
Yeah.
You scaled your the new heights, literally to new heights.
Yeah. When you guys came along, I only had two properties that I managed, and that was 2017. Yeah, that was 2017. And since then, oh God, I have 200 units that I manage.
And only what, 10 of them are ours? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you guys got 3. Yeah, 10.
Yeah, it's 10.
Yeah.
More coming though. You already know.
Yes, I'm ready.
You already know. You know what? I want to take this moment to talk about our homecoming event.
Okay.
So homecoming events is where we just highlight different things that are happening across the country within real estate, business, and financial literacy. Mm-hmm. And I stumbled upon Pam Brown Courtney. She is a real estate developer and investor and an educator, and she built a 51-home subdivision in Little Rock, Arkansas. She said that I didn't want to live in a neighborhood where people weren't friendly. So I went home and said, you know what? I can build my own community like that, and I'll be nice to the people that live there. And I went and looked up, and the name of this community is called the Covenant Cove Community. So if we have any listeners out there in Arkansas, the Covenant Cove Community, 51 newly built homes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. She's leasing all of them. And the day when residents, what did she say here? Oh, so you're invited to go to Covenant Cove Community, and they do Airbnb. So if you're just there in town, just because you're visiting, you can rent. And these are high end. These are very nice single family homes that she's leasing, and she's leasing. And I brought that up because you lease.
I'm a leasing monster.
Right. So you do have just for the weekend type things like Airbnb, but then you also have long term tenants. So you got short term, long term tenants, and strategically this is also near the University of Arkansas.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get those students.
Yeah, those students, and she built it from scratch. So it's 51 homes. They weren't there before.
My mind is like, and then she has the students, and then she tries to rent them out furnished, then she can make more. Sorry.
Hey, that's a property manager in you.
Yeah. Hey, how can you value plus?
Yes.
Value plus.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about that. So when we talk about property management, we take over a property, and let's say it's a 4-unit, and we go in there, we want to make some improvements so that we can justify raising the rent.
Right.
So that's a value add.
Right.
You do the improvements, you raise the rent, so now you got more revenue coming in.
Right.
What other value adds would you consider in a building? What else can you make money from that the new investor doesn't think of immediately?
So, main key points if you're going to basically renovate a property and the individual units would be kitchens and bathrooms. Number 1. I always say you do not have to put stainless steel appliances in there. Black will suffice unless you have condo units and you're going full decked out modern amenities. Then go ahead and throw the stainless steel in there. But if it's just a regular apartment and you're renovating it and upgrading it, then the black appliances will suffice. Space, of course, and then from there you just kind of go ahead and rent. Because those are the main things that renters are looking for.
But the add-ons, what add-ons? We could charge extra for X, Y, and Z.
You can charge extra for garage if you have a garage space. You can charge extra if they have pets, pet fees. You can have laundry on site. So, and then if you own the machines, then you're getting that income from the coin-operated laundry.
Yeah, we added that to like one of the buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at renewal, if you want to raise it 2 to 3%, ways to kind of accommodate the tenants for that is you want to do something nice for them as a thank you for renewing. So typically things that I like to do would be if it's a carpeted unit, get a complimentary carpet cleaning. So that will cost you $100 to $150 on top. But then over time, if you're raising the rent $25, what you got, like $600 annual increase just off of $150 carpet cleaning.
Right.
So you be thinking of stuff
so
I didn't even think of.
All right, so let's review this because I know there's somebody listening right now who's about to buy their first residential apartment building. They're about to get their first 3-flat or 4-unit. So you go in there and right now you got a 3-bedroom, 1-bath in a neighborhood where the top end is $1,000 for rent for that 3-bedroom, 1-bath, but currently it's being rented for $900. So when you come in there, As the leases expire, you make a couple of improvements. You to the bathroom or the kitchen, you make an improvement, or if you don't make improvements, you're doing the carpet cleaning.
Occupied.
And
so we're doing the occupied.
Oh, I'm sorry, occupied. All 3 units are occupied.
Okay, so with an occupied, and you want to raise it to $100.
Well,
so you get $1,000 off of the 9.
I'm not saying that that we're raising it $100, but I'm saying that let's say it has a garage. Let's say it has storage. Let's say that there's an empty basement, but there's no washer and dryer down there. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, what I would like to do is get $3,000 a month on this 3 flat, but right now I'm only getting, $1,700. I mean, or not $1,700, but $2,700.
Yeah.
How do I get to where I want to be?
So when you're buying a property that has tenants in there, the first thing you want to do, or you want your property manager to do, is to interview them. Do a walkthrough of their apartment. See what issues they have. More than likely, tenants that have been in a property for a while, they want a new paint job. They want new appliances, maybe, just depending on how long it's been in the condition. But typically, if you go in and do a full paint job, it's going to look like a brand new apartment anyway. Because if they have that standard white paint, then it's kind of turned yellow after a while. So when they see you coming in and making those changes, that automatically gives them the trust to sign on a 12-month lease with you, as well as give you, the increase that you're asking for because you're coming in and doing things that the previous owner didn't do.
Right. And then you say to yourself, where else can I squeeze a couple of dollars out? Well, if I have a 3-car garage and I have 3 tenants and I charge each one of them $25, that's extra $75 a month. And then I have storage spaces downstairs and they don't currently have access to the storage. I clean out that entire basement, divide it up, and then I charge them $25 a month for the storage space. So now they can put down their, their bikes and their extra winter clothes, whatever
and
it is.
then it encouraged them also to renew, because at first they had everything in their apartment, so it was cramped, and they're thinking, oh, I need to move because I don't have enough space, and then you just opened up all this space for them.
Right. But now, so let me see. I got $75 from the garage, $75 from the storage. That's $150.
And you raised the rent $100.
And I raised the rent $100. That's $300, $450. I think when you buy that building, make these considerations on what are you willing to do? Do you have the capital to make some improvements? And what is not being utilized in that building that you can now provide and give access to?
Right.
And now you got extra money coming in.
Exactly.
All right. The one thing that we haven't talked about yet is Section 8. Because for me, that very first building, I put Section 8 tenants in 2 out of the 3 units.
Yes.
And people always try to talk bad about Section 8 tenants. But I don't think I've ever had a problem with my Section 8 tenants.
Aren't they just people?
Yes, they are just people.
And you just have to interview them.
And you don't even necessarily, the thing is that people think that anybody that has a CHA voucher, that they're not working, and it's just this stigma. So the thing is, with CHA, you on the list. So when you started on the list, you may not have been working. But by the time they make it to you, because the list is so long, I've had people that have received CHA vouchers and work for the post office. Now, granted, you are still a CHA voucher holder, but the tables have turned. So whereas you would have been paying $50 and CHA would have been paying, $9.50, you're now paying $9.50 and CHA is paying $50. So that whole stigma of, voucher holders not working and they tear up your property and this, that, and the third is horrible.
I think it's horrible too. I think
so many people will be like, I would never put Section 8 in my building. As soon as I get my building, everybody is paying market rate.
And my thing is, when I think about market rate versus a Section 8 tenant, they're both people.
Yes.
They both need to be interviewed.
Yes.
People who are market rate will tear up your apartment just like someone who has a voucher.
Yes.
The question is, did you do your due diligence?
Right.
And what is due diligence? Like, what does an interview and selection process entail?
Every single person, whether they have a voucher or subsidy market, should go through a credit and background screening. So I have come across so many owners that because they have a subsidy or because they have a voucher, that's guaranteed money, that you bypass even screening the person because you're just knowing that they have this guaranteed money. So everybody should go through that. What I do an extra incentive, especially with voucher holders, is to do a home inspection and where they're currently living.
Right.
Because CHA requires you to do annual inspections. And if you have someone that's coming in and they don't maintain as they should, which is a fear that some owners have, you got to come in every year and fix everything up. If you see how they're living where they're currently staying, then you can kind of say if that's something that you want to tackle, or you would rather not move forward with them as an applicant. But you have to let all of that be known in the beginning, so that you're not kind of going against fair housing laws or saying that you're being discriminatory.
How long does it take to do that? A week?
For what, a home inspection?
To do everything you just said for one prospective tenant.
The credit and background comes back the same day, depending on the time that you put it in, and then conducting a home inspection, that's all on your schedule.
Right.
So it could take a week, it could take 2 days. It just depends on you.
And then if you have a property manager already,
then
the property manager does all that for you.
Right.
So, okay, so right now I'm just being an advocate. Well, obviously I'm biased, right? We have our property manager here on this episode. Yeah. We're biased, but we also appreciate how free our time is because you are spending the time to do the background check, to do the home visit, to take care of any issues and problems that are going on at our building.
Deal with our landscaper and deal with making a request for increase with the Section 8 tenants.
Yes.
Right. And then as you grow in your relationship, just like a couple days ago, we sat down and kind of strategized. We had a little powwow and say, oh, these are the things that I would like to see happen going into the future. And then you go out and execute those things. And I feel like, oh, I'm getting my money's worth for having a property manager. Yeah. But if you value your time, and that's the reason why, at the end of the day, that's why we have a property manager, because we value our time. I want my time back to do other things, and you guys are seeing what we're doing. So we need that time.
Yeah.
All right, we're back, and it's time for Anton's definition of the day. And the definition for today is property management. Property management is the operation, control, and oversight of real estate. Management indicates the need of real estate to be cared for, monitored, and accountability for its useful life and condition. This is much akin to the role of management in any business.
Right. In any business. And our business is real estate.
Yeah.
And so you got to, if you need to hire managers to make sure that you have your systems in place. Because I throw that word around a lot of times, systems. A system is basically having people who are working for you to execute your dream, your plan. So do you have a system in place by having a property manager who then goes out and makes sure that all the things that your building needs are in place?
And the property manager, he or she will handle your day-to-day operations, but they also can help you with your budget as far as forecasting for the following year, coming up with, like you said, brainstorming and doing a powwow to come up with what are the plans for the next following year as far as any special projects you want to do on the property. Giving you your statements. You should receive a statement to let you know where your funds are going and how the money is being split up, so that you are not your hands off, but you're still in the know of what's going on with your property.
Hey, when tax season comes, that record keeping is amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know that's right.
Yeah, because there are definitely some tax write-offs and things of that nature that you need the information. Yeah. You need to know what the revenue was and what the maintenance costs were and all that kind of stuff in order for you to properly do your taxes.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a question for you.
Ooh, I'm nervous.
No, it's a broad question. Broad question. Give us your dream plan execute moment. It could be from the past, present, or something that you're working on now. But what did you dream about? How did you formulate that plan? And tell us about the execution.
Okay. I've had several moments. So New Heights started out as a dream, of course. It was one that I felt that I needed to do with somebody else. I just couldn't do it by myself. It just wasn't possible. But I was forced to. And it's like you blink and time has passed and you see how much you've done. So, when was this? 2018, I, just jotted some stuff down as far as where I want to see New Heights grow within the year. And it was actually May of 2018 when May of 2018 when I wrote this down, where I wanted to see new heights within the year. And I just put a random number next to it, and I went $20,000 over that number. Not even really pushing, it just happened. And another thing that is like my dream plan execute proud moment is that most of my clientele for New Heights has been strictly from referrals. I just started to try to, market and promote my business, but for the most part, my clientele has been strictly referral.
Oh, man. I think I refer somebody.
Yeah, you did.
I think I have too. All right, that's awesome. When we ask the Dream Plan Execute moment, there's something that's real consistent among our guests, and it's the power of writing their dream down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you come back across something you wrote down, and it may be a couple of weeks or a couple months or even a couple of years, but because it's written down, you come back across it and you see it, and then it's like, oh, let's do something about this thing that I wrote down.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely believe in writing things down. I have about 5 journal books that I just jot things down that I want to do. But the thing that I enjoy most about it is that when I go back and I look at it and I can cross some things off the list. And it's like, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't something that I was like, I gotta get it done, and I'm like chasing my tail. It's just something that everything aligned and it just happened. And so I just believe when you put it out there, it comes back tenfold.
Definitely. So, this is Homecoming with Down, brother. So, I'm going to ask you this. When you hear the term homecoming, what does that mean to you?
Family. Family, an imprint, love, happiness, is togetherness. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. All right, so we ask people about their hometown. You're from Chicago. There's a lot of different things that are going on. Is there any homecoming cause, not-for-profit organization, or anything like that you can think of that you think people should support or should know about?
There are tons of domestic violence shelters. Clara's House is one that I donate to.
Where's Clara's House, and who do they?
Clara's House is in Inglewood, and she helps women from domestic violence situations and their children with clothing, shelter. There is also Heartland Alliance. They help veterans. Thresholds helps people that are recovering addicts with housing, and so there are tons of organizations in Chicago that help people, and any way that I can, I always kind of reach out, and whether it's like for instance, Thursday I'm throwing a Thanksgiving luncheon at one of my properties. It's a high rise, and it's for my seniors. And so then I have Moody Church coming out. I have health clinics coming out. And so it's just kind of giving back as well as maintaining a business at the same time.
All right, cool.
You said on Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday.
What's up with whatever? Hey, I will be right there with the geriatrics. I will have great conversations.
Do you hear this guy? Food. I spent a lot of money. We're going to have tons of food.
All right, cool. So, property management is important. It is a key part of what allows the Downer brothers, allows Anthony and Anton to be able to be free to do the things that we want to do. And when it comes to real estate, if you guys are going to go out there and you're thinking about buying and holding properties and having tenants and becoming a landlord, then if you don't have the time to do it yourself or do it properly, then you can consider property management. So where can they find you in your business?
New Heights on Instagram is New Heights _property MGMT, and then on Facebook, New Heights Property Management.
There you have it. Is there anything else they need to know about New Heights or yourself?
Well, I I will be at the Downing Brothers birthday party.
There you go.
So you can meet me there.
That's right after Thanksgiving. So yeah, you can actually come out to our birthday party. It's going to be at Bureau Bar on November 30th. So at 5 p.m. So yeah, I guess we had to bring that up. Hopefully we get this episode out before that. All right. So thanks a lot for coming out. And of course you go to our Instagram page and our Facebook page, the Downer Brothers, and you will see more of New Heights Management and Mikia Dameron.